Hello, welcome to the City of Boston 2019 Annual Homeless Census Sheltered Count Training for HMIS Providers. My name is Jennifer Flynn and I'm the HMIS Administrator for the City of Boston. This training will go through a few reports that you can run in your front-end ETO software system in order to make sure that your numbers that are in the software are accurate and correct. And also how to run the reports that you'll need to submit to the City of Boston, and finally, how you will submit those reports to the City of Boston. So just a quick little reminder, the annual homeless census is the one night when we get a really true count of the homeless population in the City of Boston. It is the one night when all homeless shelters, even those that don't report into HMIS, report their numbers to the City of Boston. And as a reminder, as you guys are capturing your clients who are in your programs on the night of Wednesday, January 30th, 2019, there will also be a companion street count happening at the same time where 45 teams of roughly 300 volunteers will go out and canvass the city itself to both get an accurate counting of our homeless clients who are sleeping in places not meant for human habitation, but also to try and convince them to come into the shelter for both services and to get on a housing pathway. Many homeless. First, we do want to alert you to a new data collection requirement this year that the City of Boston's leadership has decided that they need to be collecting for all programs in the City of Boston. This is a data collection point only. This is not an eligibility requirement, so we just want to get that out there. In previous HMIS data collection standards, the federal government had a data collection element called the zip code of last permanent address. And it was intended to get at the community where a client was living before their homelessness started. The federal government got rid of that data element in the last iteration of the HMIS data standards. However, this data element is an extremely important piece of information for a city like Boston, a large metro urban area that serves not only the Eastern Massachusetts, but also most of Massachusetts and the New England region. Really are a hub of support services, healthcare services, transportation, and we need, as this housing crisis in not only Massachusetts, but New England continues to increase, we need to have a better understanding of where these housing crises are really originating so that we can work with the state in order to get the supports needed in those communities. So to that end, the City of Boston is requiring that all clients, as they enter a program and complete their HUD or HMIS data collection, also complete this community of origin data collection field. This is a touch point that has now already been programmed in your front-end ETO softwares, and we will be sending out an intake form that you can stick with your other intake forms that will help you collect this information. So again, you can access the community of origin ties and supports touch point, just like you would on the Hutch touch point. You'd be going into your ETO software and go to touch points, record touch point for the client, and select the new community of origin touch point. It is very quick data collection. We are asking for city, town, or neighborhood where you were living when you last had a regular and nightly place to stay. It may have been a really long time ago. We understand that as well. These are not required fields, so if a client can't remember what the zip code was, but they remember that they lived in Dorchester, feel free to type in Dorchester as the city. We're also looking for how long ago that they were in that community and if they were homeless before that housing situation. There are no required elements in this touch point, so again, we're trying to get this information. It is really important that we get it, but we're not requiring it to move forward. Again, it is just a one-page data collection form that you can incorporate, and it is part of your regular data intake documents. So on to running the reports. The whole point of this training is we want to make sure that we point out the resources that are available to you in your front-end HMIS software systems in order to keep a regular eye on the data that is being collected in about your clients in your program, and how that in turn kind of affects what the city sees as the overall population. So we're going to walk through quickly, not in, very in depth because there are resources already available. Some of these data, reports that can help you identify some issues, and kind of where to go to clean some of that stuff up, and then the actual required HUD point in time report and the HUD housing inventory report that are required to be submitted to the City of Boston. So again, we'll go over how to run some data polls so that you can get those reports. The HMIS data validation report really is probably should be your Bible for data quality. ETO did a really good job of pointing out every single little issue that could be wrong with your data and how it will affect your reports. And then this data quality scorecard and housing inventory chart reports are all available on homelessdata.com, which is the third-party companion reporting site to Social Solutions ETO Software. So before you start, your HUD COC reports will run successfully only if the below touch points are completed for your ETO program. This is extremely, extremely important. We stress this every single year. However, this year it's even more important because of the federal reporting guidelines and changes to reports. You may have heard us talk about the AHAR in past years. It was the Annual Homeless Assessment Report, and it was the 12-month accounting of the homeless population here in the City of Boston. They have changed that to a new report called the Longitudinal System Analysis Report. The problem with that is that we at the city can't even run that report ourselves if your data is not correct and complete. So we've had a really hard time trying to run our annual report for the federal government so that we can make sure that we get all of our COC funds into our system, because this data about your programs, not about your clients, is not being completed. We have given you here every single piece of information that needs to be completed about your program. Bed and unit inventory. What day are you collecting it? That's your information date. Household type. Are you only serving households with children, households without children, or households of only children? How many beds do you have? Do you have a 10-unit program? Do you have a 20-bed program? Program descriptor touch points. What funding sources are part of this program? Different funding sources have different data collection requirements. These are the questions and answers that tell ETO Software what you need to be collecting for your program and how you need to report it. It's extremely important. If you do not enter that you have a RI-funded program, you're not going to see in the client data collection the RI required elements in here. Your grant start and end dates should come from your grant documents. You have this information already. Your grant identifier, you have this information already. If you yourself do not have it, somebody at your agency does. Go to your grants manager or your contract manager to get this information. It is required as part of your reporting requirements and part of your contracts to have this information in your system. Site information. What is the address of your program? That's all. We need your physical address and the accompanying information that goes with it. Again, the City of Boston can now no longer run a citywide report for the federal government without this information being collected for your programs. Okay, so the HMIS data poll is really the basis of your reporting for HUD. This is when you go in and you click off your data time frame, this is what's going to pull all of the information that's going to generate all of these reports. So when you log into ETO Software, you will go to your reports menu on the right-hand side and make sure you click in there for the Manage HMIS data polls. When you get to this data poll page, you're going to create the data poll. You need to, once you create the new data pool, it's going to ask you your time frame. This report can be run at any time. We highly stress that HMIS administrators program directors come in and run your HMIS data quality reports on a regular basis. That the more often you run your data quality reports, the less likely you are to have significant data cleanup happen on a regular basis. The more you keep your eye on it on a regular basis, the less work you have to do on the back end. Once you get into your data pull page, it's going to ask you for a few HUD versions. I believe at the moment it will only allow you to select the most current version. It is the 2018 6.12 CSV data pull. Hash status should be unhashed for all programs. Only RAI programs would use the hash status, and at the moment there are no RAI programs that will be reporting to us this way. Your scope of the report should be this program. You also must be in that program actively as you are running this report. Grant start date and end date. For this specific purpose, for the night of the annual homeless census, you want to be using the date of January 30th, 2019. On any other purpose for when you are running this report, you will select whatever time frame you want to look at. More than likely, you'll be looking at this on either a full grant year or a monthly basis. After you submit your report, you'll come back to the Manage Data Pulls page and you'll see that your report is running. You may have a little wheel spinning at a time, and then you'll get a checkbox when it's all said and done. You don't have to stay on this page while the report's running. You can go and do something else. So if you've got a large program that you know has a lot of data in it, and it may take a few minutes for this to run, feel free to go walk away and come back and check in a little while to see that it was done. After your data pull has been completed and you receive this checkbox, now you need to go to the Take Action step. You want to go to your reporting page. Under Take Action, you'll see it right there is Reporting. This will open up a new window, just so that you know. So if you have a pop-up blocker on, you want to make sure that you turn that off. The reporting site is called homelessdata.com. It is run by SimTech Solutions, and they are a partner agency of Social Solutions ETO Software. The HMIS data validation report. You should actually run this pretty much immediately after your HMIS data pull finishes. This should be the first report that you run before going to that reporting site. When you get in here after reports and come back down at HMIS data validation reports, this is going to tell you on a line-by-line basis with clients how and why the data may not be as accurate as you think it is for that client. So you'll come in and you'll run your validation report, and again you'll use the same time frame and same CSV information as the data pull that you ran. You'll want to use January 30th, 2019 for the homeless census, and if you're running this on a regular basis, you'll use whichever time frame you're looking for. Same as always, same as on the other one, you'll get a little wheel spinning here as your report is running. And then when the report is complete, you'll get this checkbox. You'll want to open up this file under Take Action, and it will come out in an Excel spreadsheet type file. You want to download there to CSV. It makes it much more easier to work with and to kind of click through. Some of the things that you're going to see in this data validation report will be that a client is missing an assessment, a HUD assessment, or maybe that was done, but the date of it is making it fall outside of your program enrollment. So that means that that data is not going to come through in the report. Or maybe a client is missing some actual data about themselves in that touch point. Maybe there's no disabling information there, or the income information wasn't captured. All of this information will be found in the HMIS data validation report. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to go through that report and really clean up all of those errors before you run an actual either data quality scorecard report or housing inventory chart or point in time count report. Again, if you have a data validation report that has a lot of errors over here on this side, then any of those other reports that you run aren't going to mean much because we know that it's not accurate. How to run reports in homelessdata.com. So again, you'll come in here to homelessdata.com after you've run your HMIS data poll, after you've worked through your data validation report, and then you've gone back in and refreshed that data poll. That's a key, is that after you clean up that data, you got to go back in and get a new data set and then send that off to reporting. So here are some screenshots from the homelessdata.com website. They also have some of their own training there if you'd like to click on there and walk through some of their little training documents. So you want to go in, once you get into your site, there'll be a button there where you can select your reports. And you'll want to come in and select a new report here. You'll get a bunch of different options. You can run a HUD data quality report. You can run a data quality scorecard, which we will look at in a minute. I'm going to go back. Some of the other reports that will be available to you is your APR report. So if you are a COC funded program, this homelessdata.com should not be unfamiliar to you. So the data quality scorecard is a useful tool to monitor your bed and unit utilization rates. It will tell us that you have a 20-bed program, but we only have 10 people in it on a regular basis. So what does that tell us? That tells us that maybe either your program really isn't 20 beds and it is 10 beds, or you're not entering in clients into HMIS on a regular basis, which then does not give the city a full picture of the homeless population. So the data quality scorecard, again, how do I kind of interpret this? What do I look at? So this information is coming directly from the information that you put into your system. This information about bed inventory and the type of program is all from those program descriptor elements that you updated and entered earlier on in your in this training. So again, we've got your green and blue lines are your either enrollments if you're an entry-exit program, or bed services if you're a nightly program. And if they're above a red line, then you've got a problem, right? Because here's kind of your capacity would be right here, but you've got folks going above here. It's also looking at kind of persons and adults, children and ages. I would say that this also kind of one of the biggest data quality issues that we find, in particular with family programs, are children that are currently not associated with their kind of head household. So we end up looking like we have a lot of 2 and 3 and 4-year-old children that end up in the single adult system because they are kind of left off there on their own. We know that that's not the case. It's just a symptom of family data in HMIS, but these reports will help identify that for you as well. So the housing inventory chart report, this again is a requirement that actually gets submitted to the federal government on an annual basis. This is an inventory of every bed for the homeless, whether it be emergency shelter, transitional housing, or permanent housing that is available on a regular night in the city of Boston. This housing inventory chart, again, is based on the data that you put in the system in ETO from your program descriptor touch points. You'll go into run a report, you'll add a new report, and then select the housing inventory chart there. The report date should be, again, January 30th, 2019. It is the last Wednesday in January, and that is the night that has been selected by the City of Boston to conduct the annual homeless census. You'll select your organization from the file and then which project you want to run it for, and then just click Run Report. And it will spit back out a PDF version of the data that is in there for us. You'll want to look at this and make sure that all this information is correct and accurate. One thing to note, it is going to ask you for the GEO code, the Boston Continuum of Care GEO code. is 252280. After you've looked at your housing inventory chart to make sure it's all set, then you can kind of save that PDF file off to the side while you move on to your point in time count report. So the point in time chart report is the actual accounting of the clients that were in your program the night of the census. It not only gives us the overall count, but it gives us some aggregate demographic information as well. It also breaks out into households, if they're single adult households or maybe married couple households, or if we're looking at a family with children household. So again, you'll go in reports, you'll click new, and then there'll be a box there for the point in time count. Things that you'll want to look at for your populations, again, you'll want to look at your numbers of households with one child, one adult, with only children or without children. Think about how your program operates. Are you a program that only serves single adults? Then you really shouldn't have anybody that looks like they're in either this only children or adult and child category. That means that somebody under the age of 18 is in a program, and that's usually not the case. Let me go back. A few other things that we would like you to pay attention to, again, is your utilization rate. Do you say you have 100 beds and you've only got 50 people in those beds? Something's going on there. So just really pay attention to the numbers that come back in this point in time count report. We're looking for missing data. High rates of missing data mean that there's not much confidence in the data, and also can then in turn mean a loss of funding when we compete annually every year for the COC awards. So the submission process, you will be submitting the PDF of the housing inventory chart report and the PDF of the point in time chart report to the City of Boston using a Google form. So again, and when you'll download your PDF versions to your desktop somewhere, you can click here to access the Google form, or this is the actual, if you can't access it through this link, then here's the link that you can type into your system. If your organization has multiple projects, please only submit one project at a time. What this Google form actually does is it creates a spreadsheet on the back end for us to be able to kind of manage a little bit easier. So if you were to submit 3 all in one line, then the spreadsheet just looks really, really funky. So again, thank you guys for your attention to your data. You feel free to contact myself, Kadra, or Lubov, which I believe Lubov's actually her. I stopped a little bit because Lubov's last name is McComb with an MC, little c, and a big K. Her email address here is incorrect, so please make sure to change that if you actually do contact Lubov. But we are all here to help. Feel free to shoot us an email, and good luck the night of the census. Thank you.